through in a way that, even though it's not in a churchy biblical sense, it's still powerful and so
Yeah.
strong.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably in some ways more powerful because it's real.
Yeah,
real
it's real.
life.
It's
Yeah.
real. But I had a heart for them.
Yeah.
I knew what they'd gone through.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. And we met you, I guess Jonathan was 4 or 5. So we met you maybe just a couple of years later.
Yeah.
And that was
Yes.
awesome. And then a little time lapse of not seeing each other for 30 years or so. And
Yeah.
now you and I, we always joke, well, I'll see you in 2 days or I'll see you in 4 hours because we do a lot
Right.
of ministry together. So, so that's pretty awesome. So dreams are something that God does, apparently still does. And
Yes.
and he did it for one of the 12 sons of Jacob. But the dreams in his case didn't necessarily start off as a very positive thing.
No.
So we're going to talk about the life of Joseph, and we're going to begin in Genesis chapter 37, first couple of verses of that passage. So Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob's family line. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph, Israel being Jacob, loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him.
Yes, he's tattletaling, which doesn't help this whole situation. It's a setup because these brothers, hate him already because he's given this ornate tunic, a coat of many colors, which I think biblically speaking back then designated there was status with that,
I wonder if they thought he was going to become the heir, even though he was second to youngest.
Yeah.
And that's and it's not, I mean, we want to paint Joseph as the victim, which he certainly becomes a victim in short order. But it's on some level, this has got to be bad parenting.
Yeah, because of favoritism. As a parent, I love my kids. I'm not trying to put one above the other. I want them to know that they're loved equally. But obviously something's going on with this dysfunctional family. And it goes back even to, Jacob and Esau saw there was, a bad,
the younger one getting favor over the older one, so
to
speak. And it's like a lot of blended families today in some ways, because it's actually, I find it to be kind of a funny story. Joseph's dad ends up with 2 wives and then 2 maidservants for each of those wives. And so we have competing women trying to get favor, trying to produce children, and the one he really loves unable to produce children, which is another biblical theme. Right. And now the kids all hate each other because they're in the camps of their moms competing against each other. So there's already a setup for strife and competition, and then here's little Mr. Perfect, little Joseph, who never does wrong.
Right.
And also obviously dad likes him more, and it's amazing. I'm still amazed at how spiritually toxic favoritism is.
Yes.
And you and I see that a lot. People who experience favoritism on either end, there's often a demonic attachment. Like there's something, there's a snag, an offense to siblings, and even toward parents that is shapes their entire lives, and it shapes their spiritual health.
Yeah. Well, and then the person that's feeling left out, what's wrong with me? I'm flawed, or I'm a mistake, or what, why am I, and as a child, you're looking up to your parent. You want to be accepted, you want to be loved. And so then there's this this, this perfectionist, well, if I'm just going to be a good little girl kind of thing, or a good little boy,
Yeah. Or I can't live
that,
up to that. So I
yeah,
don't care.
so
I'm gonna be bad.
rebel. I'll rebel.
Yeah. All right, let's read on. Verse 5. Joseph had a dream. When he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out of the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed to it. His brother said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told his brothers, listen, I had another dream, and this time the sun and the moon and the 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually, and your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind.
There's a culture here where they had to have been sharing dreams back and forth. Here, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I mean, Jacob's, he has the dream about the ladder.
To heaven.
Yeah, it's familiar to them. His grandfather and his great grandfather have think about Abraham even having God showing up in person. It wasn't just dreams or visions either. So I mean, I think there was something there. Joseph, being the young kid that he was, teenager or whatever, he says, I just had a dream and I have to share it with you, regardless of how the impact would be,
Yeah, it seems like he's an arrogant kid, which that's not going to last long.
No,
Those rough edges will be cut off, or he's just, what was the word you used? Glyca?
Glaken, yeah.
Glycan?
Yeah, naive.
Yeah.
Yeah.